Welcome to the Rotary Time Show, a public service program presented by Rotary District 7610. Funding for this program is made possible by the generosity of Rotary District 7610, Virginia. On our programs, we talk with Rotarians and community leaders and discuss how Rotary International builds partnerships to support local, national, and world communities. I am your host, Rotarian Dr. Deborah Jackson from the Rotary Club of McLean, Virginia. The success of a Rotary Club is dependent on the club's president. They lead, they inspire, and they motivate and connect their clubs with communities and others. Joining me remotely is Rotarian Curtis Anderson, who is the new president of the Bailey's Crossroads Club for the 21-22 club year. Welcome, President Curtis, to the Rotary Time Show.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good to see you.
It's always a pleasure to have you on our show, especially club presidents, because they are the backbone of our clubs. And without you guys and what you do weekly, it just would not be successful. So thank you for being here to share. Before we start, we want to tell our viewing audience a little bit about Curtis Anderson. Tell us about your background, who you are, your career. Help us know who you are.
It's a varied career. I was born in New Mexico, grew up overseas in Sumatra, England for 10 years, Singapore, and then high school in Houston, Texas, college at University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, where I got degrees in accounting and economics from University of Pennsylvania. A law degree from the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And then I practiced in Tulsa, Oklahoma before moving up to the DC area back in 1988. I've been up in this area for a while, and I started at the Department of Interior in the Solicitor's Office, moving on to the Farm Credit Administration over in McLean, where I was secretary to the board. And then over to the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, representing the elected and appointed commissioners and secretaries of agriculture as their general counsel and chief financial officer. Then over to the Rural Utility Service at USDA, where I was the deputy administrator, administering programs that provide loans and grants to rural America for electricity, telecommunications, and water and waste systems. From there, I worked in the private sector as a contractor, working on Department of Energy, National Nuclear Security Administration, and then back to USDA and did some consulting in the middle of that. So, wow. And now recently retired.
All right. You're right. Varied career, but impressive. It's great to hear that. You bring a lot to your community and to Rotary, so thank you for that. In that journey, how did you get involved in Rotary?
Well, actually, I got involved in Rotary through Harry Henderson and Juanita Ballinger, who I met actually through other avenues. Harry and Juanita and I have been friends for many, many years, and they were very involved in the Rotary Club of Bailey's Crossroads, so I attended a breakfast or two. And then when I found out about the Thanksgiving meals program, I thought that was really interesting, and I became a member.
Wonderful. So our past district governor was always a recruiter, so it's good to hear. Always a recruiter.
Still is, we hope.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the Bailey's Club.
Well, it's been around for a while. We have 57 members, active members at the moment. We have 12 honorary members. We have we meet every Friday morning for breakfast at the Goodwin House in Bailey's Crossroads, which is a retirement community. We have a great room there that's set up for video. During the pandemic, obviously, we did all Zoom, but now we're doing hybrid. So about 20 of our members show up in person at the Goodwin House. The other members come in on Zoom on Friday morning, 7:30 to 8:30. Then we have our breakfast, which is relatively cheap and good, and then we have speakers on Friday mornings. Our vice president arranges all of those. Juanita Ballinger, who's my vice president, she's gone out and got arranged speakers since the beginning of our Rotary year, all the way through the end of December at this point. And we already have people who want to be speakers at our group, at our club next year. So
Wow.
we'll be working on those soon.
Good, good. We'll talk to you a little bit more about some of those speakers later in our program. I was going to ask you how diverse your club is in terms of females, but I understand the district governor comes from your club.
Yeah, well, we are very proud of the fact that we've had 4 district governors come from our club. Jack Kenyon, Burns Even, Harry Henderson, and the current district governor, Pat Borowski. We've had, I know of at least 3 women who have been presidents of the club in the past. We currently have, I'm trying to think, I came up with that, 24 women out of the 57 members. We're adding new people all the time. With the help of Jim Holcomb, we're reaching out to younger members and people who were students of his over at when he was a teacher over at formerly Jeb Stuart, now Justice High School. And they are people of male, female, and more in their 20s and 30s.
Right. I think they represent your international community, if I'm correct.
Well, they do. We're a very diverse area. I mean, I think the Bailey's Crossroads area and the Justice Pyramid is the most diverse community that you will find in the country. And so our board is also diverse. You know, we have, six of the 13 elected board members are women. We have all major religions represented on our board. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, and maybe even some who are not. And we have at least 3 people of color on the board, and we hope to add more. Absolutely.
A very, very diverse community that you represent. I've always enjoyed coming for your breakfast meeting. A bit early, but the food is good, like you said.
Well, you know, we're the early birds. You got to get started and get going.
Yeah. Tell us about some of your service functions of the club. You know, in terms of guest speakers, you mentioned that a bit ago. Who's some of the kinds of speakers you host?
We have a pretty diverse group of speakers. We have a couple who have come to us for several years now and talked about China. 2 professors used to teach or now currently teach at the Naval War College. And so we get an update on China and how China is looking around the world. We have had a person who is actually the wife of one of our Rotarians from the Park Service come and talk to us about the cicadas. So we got a whole instruction on cicadas. We had someone come and talk to us about gardening. We reach out internationally. Michelle Peters, Misha Peters is a member of our club, and Michelot, and she came to us. She was going to do a program from Eswatini. She went over there, and it was a bit of a challenge because they were having some civil unrest. But we're currently looking around. During the pandemic, we had speakers from China, Scotland, England, and so we'll keep on reaching out for all these different types of speakers.
How? You mentioned the pandemic. How have club functions changed as a result of COVID?
Well, certainly during the pandemic, the big issue was having meetings. We missed a couple of meetings, but then Kimberly Wasco got us up on Zoom, and so we only missed about maybe two meetings before we got going on Zoom. Being on Zoom only affects your ability to attract new people because you're not doing the activities that you would normally do. But now we're in hybrid. We started that with the last meeting before I became president. We got that, worked that out so we could do this hybrid meeting. Had a few technical glitches here and there. And now we're getting back into some in-person things. We've had a couple of happy hours that we've had in person. We do our Mustang sales in person, car side. That was delayed this year. Usually we start in March, started at Viva Vienna on Memorial Day. a lot of our food packaging that we would normally do as a group, what we did is we moved it to homes. And individual families would put together the food packets, materials delivered, and picked up and then delivered to those in need. But we're starting to get back to somewhat normal. Some of the things that we usually do have been canceled. The Thanksgiving baskets may have to be different this year because of COVID. Having people go to someone's house is not necessarily what they want at this point, but we're working on all those details out.
President Curtis, it sounds like there's no stopping your club, even in a pandemic, as I listen to the things that you all are continuing to do.
It's an active club, which is one of the things I was most really wanted to join. I didn't want to just join a club. I wanted to join a club that did something. And the great thing about this club is everyone's there to help you. We actually have a rule that you can't be president more than one year. And but we say, so you get some people become president who may not necessarily have wanted to be at some point in time, but we guarantee that we will be there to help them out. And that's been proven true this year as it was last year and the year before that.
All right. Are there any new programs that you're thinking of instituting during your presidency?
What we've been focused on is membership. But I want to do a shout out to Nazarene Gross, who put together a whole program for the Afghan refugees that came over. She heads up a group called Kabul Tech that we have donated to for many years. It's teaching people in Afghanistan. And when the problems came in Afghanistan and everyone came back over here, she got together at a moment's notice, and Rotarians pulled together, including honorary Rotarians, and donated furniture and clothing supplies and things like that. And that was done in a very short period of time. The main thing that we've been focusing on this year really is to try to build the club back to where it was, to building off of the strength that we have, that we've had, and looking to the future. So we haven't instituted a lot of new programs because we have a lot of good programs already going on. The key is how to keep them going and alive and well. We did create a position of Director for Environmental Programs, which is one of the areas of focus for Rotary, and so we're moving more into that. That was one of the things I wanted to do, was get some leverage in that area, and we've already had a speaker from Unite to Light come to us talk about lighting systems for very rural, low-income areas around the world. Great. And we're hoping to do more with things like the Colmore cleanup and things like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We are going to take a short break and be right back and talk more with President Curtis Anderson. Stay with us.
Possibilities are all around us. We see potential in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world. Together, we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved at Rotary.org.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Rotary Times. We're here talking with Rotarian Curtis Anderson, the new president of the Bailey's Crossroads Club, Virginia, for the 21-22 club year. Curtis, you were talking to us about some of your programs that you've instituted during the pandemic, and you guys have done such an amazing job in terms of still being able to move forward, even in a time of uncertainty. Talk about some of the major challenges that you might have had in maintaining real commitments to the community.
The major challenges were things that we did with people. So what we did during the pandemic was our big fundraiser is this Mustang that you see behind me every year. And we did not do the Mustang fundraising last year. We figured that we couldn't get out there with people. That wasn't what the focus should be. but luckily we had some monies left over. So we focused our things on food banks. So we provided a lot of funds to different food banks. And as I had mentioned earlier, instead of getting together as a group and putting packets together, we got all the materials and took it to individual members' houses, and they and their families put the packets together, and then they were picked up. So that was a major change and a major way we were able to adapt during the pandemic to ensure that we could get food to our community that needed it.
Yeah.
The biggest issue really has been just people. Most Rotarians like to be with people, and it's difficult when you can't be with people. So coming back in a hybrid when we did has been really helpful. It's made people feel part of Rotary again. The Mustang, which allows us to get out into the community, also makes people feel part of Rotary again.
Good to hear. Well, we're glad you're back.
Thank you.
How about your international service programs?
There are two that I mentioned, and you probably all know about Michelo, started by Michelle Peters and Lois Wilson, working with special needs kids in Eswatini, formerly Swaziland. We've supported that program for many, many years, and like 15 years or so. Mish is a member of our club and is a special education teacher in the Justice High School this year. She's also our Interact leader over there. But that's one where she has managed to work to bring people, doctors and dentists and occupational therapists and physical therapists over to work with these special needs kids in Eswatini. We are now working along with other Rotary clubs in the area. We're not the only one, working to build a school for these disadvantaged kids. And then the challenges is great, but the greater challenge makes for greater satisfaction too.
Yeah.
Another one, as I mentioned earlier, was Kabultek. Once again, Nazreen Gross, who is a member of our club, is president of that organization and from Afghanistan originally. And she has developed this whole teaching curriculum. We're not sure how that's going to be affected by the changes in Afghanistan. There's some uncertainty going on there right now. But at least in the meantime, we're helping those who have made it over here. And we'll be ready to go back whenever that will open up.
Okay. Tell us about one of the projects that you participated in personally and found satisfying.
I mentioned earlier the Thanksgiving baskets. To me, that was always one of the great things about the club. Was right before Thanksgiving, we would work with a local grocery store, and with the monies that we raised from the Mustang, we would arrange to have food put together so that we could be delivered to families. We worked with the local social workers in the school system to identify families that otherwise would not be able to enjoy Thanksgiving because of financial needs. And we worked with our Interact Club over at Justice High School, which was much larger before the pandemic. The pandemic has affected that, but they're still active now. And the Interact students would go to the grocery store and put together the baskets, and then the Rotarians would come and we would be the drivers. So they were generally 9th, 10th, 11th grade, and of course after that they might be able to drive. We would be the drivers. They would drive them to the locations. So it'd be two drivers, a driver and another Rotarian in the car, and then 3 students in the back with food baskets that we take to an apartment building, and their students then would deliver the packages. And they got to see the family receive this package. And that to me was sort of bringing it all together. Rotarians working with Interact students, serving the community, and getting the Interact students to understand the value of what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's great to hear. What a wonderful story. How does your family support you in your Rotary involvement?
Well, they let me do what I want to do. My wife is very busy in her own job, so she works 12, 14-hour days, on her own time. She has shown up to a couple of Rotary functions. And my boys, who are 26 and 23, the 26-year-old now is up in Maryland, and the 23-year-old is going to school at Nova here in Annandale area. And so they support me, you know, if I need to get things out to the Mustang, bring things back in from the Mustang, because we take it to different shows. We need to have the tent and the chairs loaded. They help me with that. But for the most part, they let me have my time that I need to do Rotary things.
Wow. Rotary has a motto, service above self. Has
Yes.
that been helpful for you